Access storage account container or access storage account container files can be challenging. Today, I am going to discuss how you can access the container name or the container file name, or you can also call it a blob container in production environment. This session is part of Azure Functions with Python for Beginner series. I strongly recommend you to check the playlist link which is given in the description of this video so you can have better understanding by watching the previous recorded sessions. Okay, so let's move ahead without wasting time. So what all we are going to cover, right? To consider the scenario where our Python Fast API can easily access the Azure storage account. So we have to follow the certain steps. And I will also show you how you will deploy this change into the production environment. So what we have to do, we have to create a container and add some sample file, right? And get the storage account connection string, and then connection string key we have to store for accessing from our local machine. So we will store that in the environment file, and we will also add the required packages in our program. So we can add those import statements, and then we will add our new route through which we will fetch the container name or file name from the Azure storage account and display as an API response. So we'll test this locally, and then after I will publish those changes through zip deploy, right? And for that we have to add that connection string, the storage account connection string, in the app settings of the function app. And then we will do the zip deployment through Windows PowerShell, and then we will test our code on Azure portal as well. Okay, so let me show you first my VS Code current status so you have better idea. I hope you can easily see this screen. Let me increase the size of it, right? And if we go to the terminal part, okay, if I just, oh, very first thing that we need to do is activate the environment, right? So if I mention script activate, hit enter. Okay, now the green round whistle says my environment is active. Okay, and you have already seen, right, how it works earlier, correct? So what changes we discussed, right? This is my running program, and if I hit func start simply, right, it will load the environment, it will give me the URL. I got my URL, and if I click here on this link, right, we know how to access, correct? So let me docs, right? And if I maximize, yeah, you can see the screen. We have all these route, health, first, second, the one that we tried earlier. Click on execute. We are getting services running. Perfect, right? So this is our current status of our VS Code. If I show you on the Azure environment, this is my demo RG group. Let me show you from the start. This is my demo RG resource group. Underneath, we have so many applications, so many resources which are already created, and one of them is demo RG P40, right? That got created earlier when we created resources. So by default, when you create any function app, those log detail and those environment information, everything will always be stored in the storage account. So you will notice one storage account automatically got created. Okay, so if we check in this one, because we are going to use this storage account under the containers, let's see how many containers are here. We can see 5 containers are here, right? And creating container is a very easy thing. You just click on add container, right, and just provide a name. You can see this is private one, but we will be able to access from our local machine, right? And you just hit create, your container will be created. After creating the container, for example this one, I created this blob container, so I simply uploaded one sample file. Oh, it is showing you don't have permission, so let me switch to access keys permission, so then it will quickly show you. So I have uploaded one very simple text file here that you can easily do by click on this upload icon. Okay, so if I click here, click on edit, so you will see I love Azure. This is one liner that we have in this test file. Okay, so let me close this. So now our container is ready, right? a file is also added here. The next important thing, how we can access this container from our Azure function fast API, correct? So very easy thing. What you will do here, click on access part, you go to access keys. Okay, the moment you click here, you will get key 1 and key 2, right? And you can simply copy the connection string or only the key which is required to access this storage account blob containers. Okay, the moment you click on show, you will get the copy icon. So I have already copied this key. Now we have the keys, right, that we have downloaded. Let's go back to the our VS Code solution and go to the environment file and add that key so we can access it in our Python program. Let me stop this function now, right? Because we have to make some back-to-back changes. As of now, you can see there is no change pending in our left bar, right? Our repo detected no changes yet because we haven't made anything, right? If we go to the environment, if you remember previously we added one sample key here, but I will add one more key for the container access. Okay, if I add the key here, so that key will look something like this, right? So you can give any name which is more meaningful for you, right? And then it will be the format default endpoint, your account name means your storage account name, your account key, and your endpoint. Okay, this is how it will look like. Okay, so let me save the changes. I will apply the key definitely once we are ready. This is very first thing. Second thing, what we have to do, we have to add the code changes, and even before that we have to apply the package, right? So which package actually we need, which is very important to get our changes or to connect to the storage account. So here you will simply type pip install and the package name is Azure Storage Blob. And the moment you hit enter, it will check all the relevant packages, dependency packages, right, if those are not installed. So if you see, it also have a reference on the Azure core package as well, so that is also installed automatically along with this. Okay, so now next thing, we have to add the reference of those packages in our code, and then we will add our function or the piece of code through which we can access the storage account blob container. Okay, two simple import statement. Let me add here. The one is azure.storage-blob import blob service client, which will help us to connect to the blob storage service, and blob.core exception because we're going to use the try catch block as best practice. Okay, so if there is any exception, so we can catch that. Okay, so let me scroll down. We can see we have other routes, first, second, right? Let me decrease the font size, health, API key, and other stuff that we have done in the previous session. Let me add a method here that will connect to the storage account. So let me add the new route that we are waiting for. So this is a piece of code. What we are doing, we are adding one variable here using os.getEnvironment. This is our key name, right, that we have already added in our environment key environment file, right? We have already seen this, and we are adding one route, get a storage account file name. Okay, and this is the response description, get storage account file name. This is our method name, read storage account file name. And what we are getting here, first we are creating the connection using the connection string that we are getting. So our service client is ready. Then we are saying which container we wanted to connect, specify the container name. This is the blob container, and then we are adding the container client so it can read the container files now, right? So our container is ready. We are printing one message, getting blobs, and in the blob list, right, the container client dot list blob, it will fetch all the blobs available, means all the files available in the container, and then we are applying a for each loop, right? All the list we are just printing, but we just wanted to check either this piece of code able to connect to the storage account or not from the Azure functions, even from local, right? So we will be returned from the very first instance where we get our first name of the blob. Okay. And if there is any exception, we are catching here. Okay. So let me save these changes. Okay. So if you see, first changes here that we have detected. Second, very and most important thing, right? We forgot to add these two references, Azure Storage Blob and Azure Core Exception, in the requirement.txt file. So let's add it. So let me go there, go to the requirement.txt, right? And hit enter. Now you can ask from where I'm getting these versions. The moment I install this storage blob package, so at the end we get these versions. If you don't specify, the program will fetch the recent one and the most suitable one. Okay, so let me save these changes. I think we are good. Now I can run my function and we can see if our route is working. What is the route name? Let me just copy it for the reference. Get as a file name. Okay, so we are trying to read the file name from the container and the container name is blob container. So let me hit here func start, right, and hit enter. It should respond quickly because previously we already ran one time. Okay, now we have the URL. Let me follow the link here. Okay, and if I try to access the route that we were expecting, which is get storage account file name, hit enter. Okay, it is saying I see the first blob name is text file.txt, right? This is what we have written here, right? This is our function. I see the first file name, the blob name, right? The txt file, and we can also verify it, right? We can simply go to the portal. We can simply go to the portal. If we come here, right? Demo.rg 40, right? And if we go to our storage container and then blob container, what is a file name? Testfile.txt, testfile.txt, right? So now we are successfully able to fetch the file name from the blob container. Let's go back to the solution. Now we want to what? We have already tested successfully. Now we want to deploy this change, right? We will do the zip deploy and add the key in the environment. So let me show you first on the Azure, even we have added the key in the function app settings or not. Okay, this time I'm going to use the advanced version of the function app, which is based on app service. As of now, if you see in this function app, this is working perfectly fine and up and running. If I click here browse, so it is saying your function app 4.0 is up and running. Okay, now here if I go to the environment variables, okay, and you see there are four existing app settings already there, and if you check this Azure Web Jobs Storage, it is already containing my storage account connection string. Why? Because it is also storing this function app logs and other information already in that storage account. But to support our code, we have to add that key here that we are using locally. So what we need to do here, we click on add, right? We click the connection string here and we have to paste the value here. Okay, I will add the value here and hit on apply. If you see here, I have added this app setting key, Azure storage connection string, and hit on apply and confirm, right? Meanwhile, it is getting updated. Let me deploy our function. See, it's ready now. If I go here, I also need to add one more environment key. If you remember how we did that previously when we were deploying, right? If I click on add here, paste here SCM do build during deployment. The value is true. Okay, click on apply, confirm, and now our changes are ready, at least from the Azure environment point of view. Let me deploy our function now. For that, we have to prepare a updated zip. Let's go back to the VS Code. Let's go to the folder level, reveal in File Explorer. Okay, so here you can see previously we created this zip, but as of now we know we made changes in the two files. One is in the main file, right? Let me put here, and yes, copy and replace. Second is the requirement.txt. Let me also paste here, copy and replace. If you want to see in detail how we are doing this, please check the previously recorded session. That will help you to understand. Okay, now our zip file is ready. So this is my Windows PowerShell, and I have already logged into Azure, and you know how to do that, right? Everything we have discussed previously. So we have AZ, function app deployment, source config, right? This is the path where my Python fast API zip exists, and we are saying build remote true. And let me hit enter. If you are running first time in a day, right, so it can take some time, maybe a minute or so. So let's wait for it. After a few minutes, I got an error message. This was not the actual screen, let me tell you honestly. Why? Because we missed one very important step. If I show you my VS Code once again, here I perform this command pip freeze requirements.txt. You remember previously I have just pasted simply the package's name in the requirement.txt, but the moment you run this command, a new file will be created with the name requirements.txt, right? If I show you in the change window, only two files are here, main.py, right, where we can see all the packages that we have already discussed. Second, in the requirement.txt, right? So these are the additional packages that got automatically added here. More packages are added at the bottom as well. If you see the packages, for example, python.env is removed that we added manually, and actual package dot added, right, .env, or you can see the request, and there are other packages as well, right, with the right version. So this is what change which was required in our file, and I go to my uh, zip version and again replace the requirement.txt file from the existing zip package. Let's go back to the Windows PowerShell. So then after I ran this command once again, and then it was very quick and I got the success message. So let's go back to the Azure portal and check if our Azure function app is ready and giving the actual response. Okay, here's our function app. Let me refresh the function app and see if my function is visible here. Yes, I can see our function is visible here, right? And if I click on browse, I should see the root, right? As of now, what you can see, this is the root message, right? But again, we want to check the one that is actually reading the what? The container file name. So we know very well what root we have to use. So let me try that here. Slash get storage account file name and hit enter, and what it is returning, see, it is on the hosted environment, correct? I see the first blob name is txt, right? And we know this very well. If I show you here under demo rg, this is the storage account that we are referring from our function app, correct? And then we have the containers, right? We provided the blob container name, and here we have the file, the test file.txt, correct? Don't worry about anything, right? Any piece of code, everything is available here. I will update this repo regularly, only for you. Okay, so you can simply get all the routes simply, right? What we need to type, docs, hit enter, right? And you will see the Swagger one, right? We can see get as a file name readme, and you can read it from here as well, correct? We can simply try out, execute, and here we go. We can get the response from here as well. I really like it. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So we covered all the steps that we specified here, and I hope you like the video, right? Okay, so your one like, your one comment, your one share, right? Everything motivate us and help us to create more such content. And we really give importance to your feedback. In our next section, in our next video, we will discuss how to set and get the secrets using Key Vault. So this time we will use a more secure way, right? How to access at runtime, and we will not use the .environment file in our local, or even we will not use our app settings, okay, to fetch the values. So I will see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.